Yeah, we can carry on talking. So it usually takes them a couple of minutes. You'll see the participants start coming in now. Look, we've got 2 people, attendees. Hi, Alan Tish. Hey, Alan's here. How are you doing? Yep, they're all here. They're all tuning in. Mark Curry. A couple of names there. Hi, Fran. Can you recognize any names, Jag?
Oh, yeah. Damien, how you doing, mate? Fliss.
So they can't talk back as long as they're all muted.
yeah, I know, yeah.
Well, they are welcome to talk in the chat. So, excellent. Afternoon all. We'll just give it a minute for people to tune in.
Wow. Very punctual bunch. Everyone's turned up bang on time almost.
There you go. So, a couple of questions. Steve Long's asking, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Looking forward to this. Hope you're well. Hey, how are you doing, Alan Tish? Mr. T, I've seen you for a while.
Hi, Steve. Long time no see.
One more minute. I think we are expecting a few more people. Virtual tours. Cool. We can have a catch up on that, Alan, if you want this week. Or maybe next week after DigitalU out of the way, actually. Be good to catch up anyway. Nice guitars. Is that Les Paul? Les Paul?
Les Paul. Yes, it is a Les Paul.
I thought it was French. Les Paul.
That's my favourite guitar.
Excellent. I'm a hack. Cool. We're almost there and thereabouts, I think. Hi, Paul. Cool. So we might as well kick off. We're pretty much there and thereabouts with the numbers we're expecting. Thank you very much to all the delegates for tuning in promptly. Thank you, Jag, for giving up your time this afternoon to present and share some of your knowledge and expertise. For those that don't know myself, just a quick introduction. I'm Chris Morris, the co-founder of Shoe Social Media, and it's our event, DigitalU, which has been running for its 3rd year now, and it's all about helping businesses and people transition into an ever-increasing digital age. And what the concept is to pull together through our network experts and people that are really, really good at what they do, and asking them to give up a bit of their time to help people with this transition. Jack's kindly done that this afternoon, and he's going to be helping people and businesses pull together and give them some ideas and some tactics and how their business can market through, obviously, as we know, the little thing called COVID and the pandemic, how we make the best of a bad situation, I suppose. I've known Jag for a number of years now, top guy. As you can see, he's a musical reference in the background, so he's a bit of a musician as well. And I did ask him this morning, one fun fact, Jag Desh means Lord of the World. So I would like to hand over to Lord of the World, Mr. Jag Panesar, and he will screen share in a second. Quick question, quick thing. I'm going to drop the ebook in the chat, and if you've got any questions, please either drop it in the chat or the Q&A. And that's it. Over to you, Jag. We'll answer those questions at the end.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. And yeah, thank you for all the hard work you guys have put into organising this week. I know it's definitely not easy. I've done 1 or 2 in the past. But doing, how many are you running? Like 12 or 15, 20 events?
18 in total.
Yeah, so yeah, after you, mate. Thank you for doing that. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to pull up my presentation. So thank you for coming along today. I'm going to be talking about, oops, sorry, just 1 second, full screen mode. So I'm going to be talking about, when the screen appears, can you see that, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be talking about 6 post-lockdown marketing tactics today. So I'm going to get straight into it. So did you know that the UK economy had a 20.4% slowdown in April due to lockdown? The answer is probably yes, because that's all we're hearing at the moment on the news. So yeah, you know, obviously it goes without saying the economy has taken an absolute beating over the last few months. And there's talk of recession, you know, we are, I think it goes without saying, you know, there was kind of talk of it before pre-COVID, around the end of last year and the beginning of this year, but I think it kind of goes without saying. Now, there's broadly three types of recession. The V-shape, which is basically, well, it's a V-shape. You go in and you have a drop, you have a very quick bounce back and you're back on track. The U-shape, which again, well, the image is kind of self-explanatory, and the L-shape, where the recovery is by far the slowest. So, you know, obviously, I mean, I'm no economist, but, you know, in a best case scenario, really, it's the V-shape that we want, and what we need. What is your responsibility in this? By making the right moves, we can support softening the depth of the downturn. Obviously, as an economy, a lot of it's dependent on how we're spending and the kind of moves that we all make as business owners or people who are who are influential and can make decisions within a business, and also reducing the duration of the recession by accelerating your business in the upturn once the economy wakes up. So the kind of things I'm going to be talking about today, it's kind of, you know, look at it from a point of view of, you know, the kind of things that you guys can do in terms of, you know, keeping your business going, not just surviving, but thriving and growing. And off the back of that, if everyone is doing the same thing, then obviously that's what's going to help us push in the right direction sooner rather than later. So today, the things we're going to go through are, number one, ways to ensure you retain your existing client loyalty. Number two, emphasizing your core values. Number three, creating value-adding content to gain and retain clients. Number four, productizing your service to differentiate yourself. Number five, understanding your competition on the digital landscape. And number six, reviewing and measuring your activity. And I've also got in there a cheeky little bonus tactic, which is number 7. Everything, all the best stuff happens in sevens. So I will be bringing in another little bonus tactic on top of that, which I'll talk about later. So a few important points, guys. The webinar itself is catered towards service-based SME owners or marketing personnel. It doesn't mean that if, you know, this criteria doesn't fit you, if you're in on the webinar today, thank you for coming along. Thank you to all of you for coming along. There will definitely be bits and pieces, but it's with this particular audience that I had in mind that I created this, these slides. The content's been focused around activity that you should be able to implement yourself. So basically, I'm not going to be talking about anything deep technical like SEO or pay-per-click or social advertising and stuff like that. That might be stuff you can do yourself, but this is all the kind of stuff, it's tactical stuff that hopefully will lay a bit more of a foundation around the things that you're doing, and then you can take it forward from there. So a little bit of information about Expand. So our studio is based in Saltaire in West Yorkshire. We are a full service digital marketing agency, and I set the business up in 2007, 13 years ago. I registered the business as a sole trader on the 28th of June. So our 13th birthday is coming up in less than a week's time. Some of our more recognizable clients include Lindt Chocolate, Argra chain of restaurants. If you're from West Yorkshire, you'll recognize who they are. The Tetley Brewery and Her Majesty's Prison Service. And the kind of work we've done for these guys ranges from lead generation to internal intranet development, website design development, and branding work. Examples of results include, everything we do is about the outcome for clients. So Headway Recruitment, we've done for these guys the branding. We've built the last few websites. We got them a 35% increase in traffic over a period of 12 months and £114,000 of converted business in that measured period from SEO, getting found on the top of Google. Pitts Wilson, for these guys, we generated £200,000 worth of inquiries in the space of 6 weeks through Google AdWords. This was a few years ago now, but still something we're very proud of. Chris Making, we built his website some time ago. We're actually right in the middle of we're about to start working on a new website for him. We've generated £80,000 of new business in the space of 24 months for him. Energy Mill Gym, we got these guys 500 members within the space of 3 weeks. The target was 4 weeks, and for these guys we did a strategy, branding, website, and supported them with all kinds of different things. So that's just a quick outline about us and the kind of thing that we do. It's all about the outcome, but obviously between us, between the team, we've got the skill set to cover a number of areas. So Solar 7, those of you who know me and have seen me present before, you will have seen me talk about this. This is a model we've created ourselves. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just our take on the way that digital marketing works. Oops, daisy. I'll give a quick rundown of how it works. So, because we are going to refer to this throughout, and it is in the workbook as well. So, stage 1 is discovery. Discovery is all about understanding where you've been, where you are, and where it is you want to go. Understanding your competition, understanding your audience, understanding your objectives. Once we've got all that information, we can create the strategy. The strategy captures all activity that needs to take place in order to be able to achieve your objectives, and the outcome of the strategy is what we call a roadmap, which is, you know, an outline of this is what to do in July, this is what to do in August, this is what to do in September, and so on and so on. Stage 3 is about your brand and the content and your message, your mission, your vision, your values. So we need to make sure we've got that part of it right. And then the website is stage 4. This is a bit like your sun in your solar marketing system. So all of this carries through to your website. And stage 5 is all about getting traffic to your website through various means. So in this case, it's being found on Google, so search engine optimization and pay-per-click, social media, email marketing, advertising, and PR. It's not limited to just these. This is just what's in our model. And the idea is you drive traffic to the website, and obviously that's what then, you know, causes the user, your customer, sorry, to you know, click on the buy button or fill in your inquiry form or do whatever you want them to do. And content is key to each one of these as well. I always give the example of social media. You could be posting all day, every day, but if you're not saying anything of any relevance, you're not going to get anywhere. And then, so these are all stage 5, the planets that rotate around the sun. That is the website. Stage 6 is reviewing and measuring your activity. And stage 7 is return on investment. So that's Solar 7. So I'm going to take you back to the 17th of March, 2020. We all probably can remember this week very clearly. So the 16th of March was a Monday. It was the evening, and Boris Johnson kind of half announced lockdown. He said, if you can work from home, work from home. I made the decision. We already had a setup to be able to work from home. And I said to the team, okay, right, you know, this is what we've been advised, so this is what we're going to do. So I went into the office the next day, and there's a picture of it, just looking a little bit unused, a little bit sad. I took this a couple of weeks ago, so this is about 2.5 months into lockdown, a little bit unloved and dusty, and the writing still on the wall from on the whiteboard. But I went into the office on the 17th of March just to pick up a few bits and pieces just to get over to the team, stuff that they needed. And what happened was I got a call from a client saying, look, this is happening. I foresee that there's going to be a lot of problems. I'm going to need to cancel my contract. And I thought, oh God, no, please don't. But I understood, because, you know, that fear was in all of us at that point. So I thought, okay, fair enough. This one person has done that. An hour later, I get another phone call from a different client, same thing. An hour after that, same thing. So in the space of a few hours, I'm in the office all on my own, feeling really sorry for myself. And I've had 3 clients cancel on me. And I genuinely at that point thought, oh my word, this is the first day of all of this happening. By that time, I think lockdown had already taken place in Spain and Italy and a few of the other countries in Europe and around the world. And I thought, right, this is it. This is the end of 13 years. Now, fortunately for us, and I know some businesses weren't as fortunate, for us, we had a pretty strong pipeline from the end of the final quarter of last year and the first few months of this year. And that pretty much, so we did have people cancelling, but we had people kind of jumping on board, which was great. And I felt pretty lucky about the whole scenario, really, thinking, oh my God, you know, if this hadn't come through. But the truth is, you know, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more of it I have. The truth is, if you're doing the right thing and you're consistently doing stuff and putting yourself out there, then luck has got nothing to do with it. It's about just getting yourselves out there. And I'm hoping that the kind of things I'm going to talk about today actually support that. It isn't about luck. It's about just doing the right kind of things, guys. And these are hopefully very actionable things that you can do yourselves. So, what do you need post-lockdown? What you need post-lockdown, you need a marketing strategy. So what does a marketing strategy consist of? It gives you, it provides long-term objectives. It outlines your competitive advantage. So it looks at where you are in relation to your competition and the kind of things that you're stronger at or need to be stronger at. It outlines the markets and the audiences to target. It outlines your brand position, where you sit in relation to your competition, and it provides a roadmap of what needs to happen and when. So that's the strategy. Today, I'm talking about tactics, marketing tactics. What are marketing tactics? So these are the more granular activities that help you achieve your marketing strategy. It's the day-to-day activity and the things that you plan in the very near future that contribute to building your brand. So the reality is, sometimes people say to me, oh, I never do any marketing, but they do because they're posting on social media. That's a marketing tactic. Now, what you do need, tactics just don't stand alone on their own. They don't work very well. It's just all over the place. You need a strategy to tie it all together. You need to know what these things are and have the long-term vision of the things that you want to be able to achieve and build those into that. So these 6 post-lockdown marketing tactics that I'm going to talk about are all things that in some way, shape or form can be tied together. And if you're doing them in unison, I've only got, up to 5 o'clock, so I won't be able to talk about, absolutely everything to do with strategy and tactics. But by just tying these together, it will form the foundations or elements of what a marketing strategy is. So challenges you will face during a recession. This is based on research that I've done, but it's also very obvious as well. So people are going to become more price sensitive. It's a scenario that I suppose most of us will remember the recession from 2008. Price sensitivity was very much a thing. Negotiation from prospects will be tougher. People need to get better value for money. They need to know that, that they're taking the risk of spending the money. So whatever they're putting forward, they need to know they're going to get something out of it. Certain types of media will suffer significantly. So print media being one of them. I was speaking to one of my contacts that produces a magazine the other day, and it's a free magazine, and they base their model around advertising. And these magazines now can't be put anywhere because that's just a perfect opportunity for germs to be transferred. So they've been hit in a major way, and so has a lot of print media. So that's something we have to factor in. And then purchases will become a lot more considered. So, you'll think about, oh, do I need to purchase, X, Y, Z? Do I need this new setup? Do I need this new laptop? No, I can just get by without it. So that's the kind of impact that we're going to see. So when you think of this in relation to the sales funnel, this is something I'm very keen on always talking about. I'm a big advocate of. If you're not familiar with sales funnels, I'll give you a quick rundown. My car's broken down. I want to buy a new car. I decide I'm aware of the Renault brand and the Ford brand. I decide, okay, I like those 2 cars. They appeal to me. So I go into consideration. I have a look on the website. I check out both cars on the websites, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go into the showroom and test drive them and have a chat with the sales guy. I test drive whatever Ford it is. I test drive whatever Renault it is. I then decide I want to buy a Ford Focus. And then 2 years later, the guys at Ford contact me saying, your lease is due to renew in 3 years, in another year's time. And would you like to upgrade to the latest model for only XYZ extra? So that's a classic sales funnel. What's going to happen? What happens in a recession is this particular stage, the consideration and engagement stage for the buyer, ends up stretching out a lot more because they've got to be a little bit more careful about how they spend. So it's going to become more drawn out. So for you, this is where you guys be having to, or businesses in general, offering a lot more and making sure that we're actually doing whatever we can to capture our clients and convert that into the purchase stage. That's where it becomes really important. So that takes me on to tactic number 1, penetrating your existing customer base. This is probably the easiest route to market to actually win more business. So your existing customers, it's always more cost effective to sell to your existing customers. If you think about, the amount of work that you have to do to go out there and acquire a customer and pull them in and gain their trust. And then if you think about the relationship you've got with your existing customers, they already know you, they hopefully like your service, you've got that relationship with them. So by the time you're saying to them, right, okay, well, this is a service that we've got and we feel it would benefit you in this way, what do you think? It's not as straightforward as that, but you get the idea. So last week I put a poll out on LinkedIn and I asked the question, after lockdown, what would you like to see most from your suppliers? And you can see the results here. Customers' needs. This correlates directly with research that desktop research that I did. So I thought, all right, let me put the question out there, because you never really know where exactly it's coming from or what kind of biases might be in there. And my research actually aligned perfectly with what I read. People, rather than affordability is important, of course, value for money is important, but an understanding of needs. So just think about your customers, think about the things that they need. And kind of have a chat with them, get to know what it is that they're actually after, because you might find that rather than just dropping your price and hoping for the best, speaking to the customer and understanding what it is that they're after, that's what will really bind the relationship. And as long as you're able to tick that box, then that's what will retain the relationship. Support clients that are suffering. So think about the clients, I suppose, retail and hospitality. If you have any customers in that arena, obviously they're going to be really having a hard time at this moment in time. Now, I'm not an advocate of just dropping prices or discounting, because I think it devalues what you're doing, but I do feel that there are certain circumstances. A particular client called me right at the beginning of lockdown. They're a dental practice. And he contacted me saying, the shop's shut, and the practice is shut, and effectively we have no income. Is there anything you can do to help us out? I completely understood where he was coming from, so what I did was I reduced the fees temporarily and said, look, while we're in lockdown, I'll reduce it to X, Y, Z. It wasn't that big a hit on us in that we had other work coming in, so I made the decision off the back of that. And in addition to that, I extended the credit terms as well, so it might be worth considering going down that route as well. Again, this kind of thing is I'm not just saying start throwing money away and giving stuff, because obviously it creates more risk for you guys. But off the back of this, this is the kind of thing where, we need to support each other, or you need to support your clients, more importantly. If these are people that, they're suffering in some kind of way, they will remember you if you've helped them out. And then also offer more value. Anything you can give. One of my ways of our ways that expand of offering more value is doing webinars like this. That's what kind of triggered it. We'd been talking about doing webinars for years, but we never got around to it. And all it took was a global pandemic for us to actually start delivering stuff like this. There you go. So offering more value. On the note of offering more value, provide more advice around your area of expertise. I suppose, again, the kind of things that, we're talking about today, this whole festival, that DigitalU that Chris and Rachel have put on. It's a great way for people to get your name out there, but also you're giving valuable information to people in a very difficult time. Provide additional services at a lower rate. So maybe if you've got a client that's that has a package with you of some kind, if there is something and they're already an existing client, maybe consider just giving them a kind of a slight reduction. Again, I just want to highlight that I'm not saying drop your prices and that's that. These are the kind of little things that they will appreciate and value more in the kind of thing that you're doing. So it's worth considering. And maybe even throw in the occasional freebie. This will create customer delight. One of my, something I always remember is I bought a t-shirt from a shop in Bradford called Sug Sport. And I must have been about 12, 13, something like that. And they gave me a free alarm clock. It was in the shape of a football. I don't even like football, but I was really happy that I bought this t-shirt. I went there for a t-shirt and I came out with an alarm clock as well. And it was a genuine moment of delight. I always remember that. And it was just unexpected. Now, you don't have to give football alarm clocks to your client to make them happy. It could be just something really little that you're giving as a little bit of useful additional information or something in there. It's these kind of things that get the client loyalty and, keep them loyal to you at a time when, you never know when you're going to need their support. So, just look after your existing client base. So that was tip number one. So a few tips associated with that. So list all your valuable existing clients and take the time to talk to them. You may not be able to do it with all of your clients. It's not something I've been able to do to get around all of them in amongst all the madness, trying to keep the business running. I've been talking to as many people as possible, but physically write down a list of all these people and just schedule in when you're going to speak to them. It's more likely to happen. Ask them what they need and what's important to them. You might be surprised at what the answer is. And off the back of that, they'll appreciate you asking that as a question. Going back to what I was saying about, I'm not just saying, just throw your prices all over the place. Do a cash flow forecast. The advice that was going around as soon as lockdown kicked in was everybody was going cash flow crazy. It was, make sure you're doing a cash flow forecast before you do anything else, because we just didn't know where things were going to pan out and what was going to happen. And only offer reduced fees to the clients that are genuinely suffering. Again, I suppose the retail and hospitality, if you genuinely feel that that's the case, again, I'm not an advocate of just throwing things away, but think about it on a human level right now. It is the human level that kind of we need to really consider amongst everyone, because we are all in this together. So that was tactic number one, your existing customers. Tactic number two is emphasize your core values and how they fit around your approach during tough times. So what are business values before we go into any more depth on that? So your values are the fundamental beliefs upon which your business and its behavior are based. Now, this is the kind of thing that businesses that we work with, not many people have this information outlined. And on one hand, some people see it as kind of, the fluffy stuff that, oh yeah, the la-di-da stuff, we don't need to worry too much about that. I do see that, but on the other hand, what I would say is it is absolutely fundamental to the success of it. It's really the thing that sits right at the core. So you have to do some real digging to really understand what that is. So I would really recommend understanding what that is about your business. So if you think back to Solar 7, I mentioned, your brand and your message. Your brand is more than just the physical mark, your physical logo. It's also your mission, your vision, your values. It's everything that captures. That's what it's all about. That's what makes the business really at the core of it. So I'm going to talk about Expand's values, and I'm going to outline, how I have shaped our values around the way things are coming and how I've communicated that to my team. So value number one is enjoy life and be friendly. Really, what I actually mean by that is don't be a dick. But I haven't put that in writing. Sorry if anyone was offended by my language, but I haven't put it in writing because I don't feel it's very professional, despite the fact that I've just said that in front of about 30 odd people. Number two is push your creativity. And number three is challenge for positive results. They are the three core values that I expanded. It took quite a bit of soul searching, a bit of digging to really get to the bottom of these. But what do these values mean in relation to what is about to come? How have I shaped this in communicating it to the team? So here's an example. If you see that someone is struggling, think about what you can do to help them, not just internally, externally as well, with everyone. Just a useful pointer in the right direction can sometimes be very valuable to them. Don't take your own knowledge for granted and do the right thing. You could argue that that's what, the first value means anyway, but it more so now as a reminder to the team. I went through this and I asked them, I said, was that useful? And they said, yeah, it's always good to have a reminder and put it into the context of what's going on. So value number two of Expand is push your creativity. So innovation is key to many businesses during this period of time. Think about creative ways we can help people to achieve their goals. Their short-term goal may just be survival. A good idea from us could be the difference of people keeping their jobs or losing them. So again, I always encourage the team, and we encourage each other to come up with ideas that we can put in front of people, in front of clients, or even prospects, and it's something that might be able to push them forward. And then finally, challenge for positive results. Times are currently very challenging. It's challenge that takes us out of our comfort zones, and that's how we grow. Challenge yourself to see how you can help a struggling client. Challenge yourself to see how you can get a better result for a client. Our clients need our support more now than ever before. So again, I'm just outlining here how our values can be shaped to, we're not changing the values, we're just putting the angle on it of what it means right now, so that, we're catering more for the needs of our client base, which connects very closely with, the existing clients and listening to their needs from the first tactic that I mentioned. So in terms of tips associated with this, It could be argued that your values should naturally dictate the right kind of action anyway. You shouldn't really have to say values. It's a kind of an unspoken thing, really. That's why this is not really displayed over our website or anywhere like that. It's something I communicate internally, and you should see it in the way that as a business, you should see the business's values in the way they behave. If this is the case, writing it out and communicating this to your team just reinforces it, which I was quite pleased the other day to ask my team, was that useful? And they said, yeah, it's just good to have it reinforced. So what I would say to you guys is, if you don't know your business values, dig deep, understand what is it that you believe in, what is it you believe in relation to your business, and what does that then, how does that translate into the tough times ahead, and how does that translate to the way that you're going to deal with your customer base. And people will pick up on that. You don't have to spell it out, they will pick up on that. So tactic number 3, create value-adding content to gain and retain clients. So once again, content is at the heart of the Solar 7 model, like I was saying. So the kind of thing that you're actually saying to people. So if you remember, going back to the sales funnel, people are going to stay stuck in the consideration and engagement stage for a lot longer. It's the things that you're saying between these phases that's really going to get you memorable and make you stand out from your competition. So types of content you can create how-to guides, you can create opinion pieces on your industry, you can create thought leadership, which is also an opinion piece, what you think the future of your industry is. How your specialism can be used to survive the recession is a very fitting thing now. And giving useful information to people, they'll build an innate value, for an internal value for what it is that you're actually offering for your brand. Where you can place the content, you can blog, you can put it on social media, you can do webinars, you can do podcasts. I mean, these are just a few bits and pieces. There's all kinds of places you can put it. There are a few examples. Think emotion. People buy on emotion. So research from Glasgow University suggests, this was done I think in around 2014, I think it was, there's 4 core feelings that we have. One is happiness, one is sadness, the other is being afraid or surprised, and the other is anger or disgust. Now, if you think of any kind of communication that you get, the powerful stuff, think about the media right now, how, all we're hearing about, well, not so much now, but in the first few months, it was all to do with, the fear factor of everything. Whether it's true or not, that's up to you guys to decide, but it's obviously the fear factor that really draws you in on stuff. And it's these emotions, when you're tapping into certain emotions, that's where you're going to get a little bit more engagement from stuff. Now, I'm not saying start, striking the fear of God into people with the stuff that you're saying, because I think it's wrong when people go too far with that kind of thing. But just think about the emotion, the pain point that people have got. So think about your target audience. So, for example, very, very, very broadly for us, our target audience is new start business owners, MDs of companies with under 100 staff, and marketing managers. I mean, to be honest, that's not exactly ours, but I'm just giving you an example. And you could break this down further. So it could be, MDs of companies under 100 staff, and they're in this specific sector, in this geography, and the business has been going for this long. Create very specific, detailed information around what your particular customer looks like. I haven't gone into it in too much detail because of the time that we've got available. But once you've built that audience persona, you'll get a feel for what is it that their pain point is. So here's an example. I'll give you a few examples of the way that you can shape content based on the emotion information that I just gave you. So if you're an accountancy practice, rather than writing a blog or a piece of content titled "Ways to Become More Tax Efficient," you might write "Ways to Become More Tax Efficient During Troubled Economic Times." The troubled economic times is obviously the big thing that's about to happen. It's on all our minds. So if you're focusing it around that, you're going to get more engagement on something like that. You're going to capture the attention. There's a lot of noise these days in terms of content and marketing and all that kind of stuff. So you've got to stand out. So something like this will get their attention. If you're a finance brokerage, rather than how to manage your cash flow better, it might be something like 5 cash flow mistakes you need to avoid. Now, there is actually evidence that suggests, this kind of a header, it's something that draws you in. I know I fall for it every single time because I think, oh God, am I making those mistakes? You're almost drawn into it's the fear element, isn't it? But again, like I say, as long as you're not taking the mick and really kind of trying to over milk it, it's absolutely fine. And then finally, if you're a marketing agency, rather than saying 6 marketing tactics to build your business, 6 post-lockdown marketing tactics is obviously our title, which is the reason that you guys are all here. And hopefully the information I'm giving you is relevant to our area of expertise and relevant to what's going on in the world at the moment. So that was a few examples of the kind of content that hopefully, when you think about emotion, the kind of thing that you can put in there. Another way of getting thinking about content, is building trust through reviews. Content reviews from your customers is also good content because it's written by a third party and it's seen as credible. So get them to give you Google reviews or on LinkedIn recommendations or Yelp or Trustpilot or wherever you are. Just try to get everything focused in on the platform where your audience are. And that information, again, think about the sales funnel consideration when people are doing their due diligence on you, because they are going to be doing a little bit more homework during tough times. If other people are saying good things about you, that's just a little pebble that'll possibly tip them in the direction towards you. So tips associated with this: create a content schedule and plan 4 weeks ahead. So I'm talking specifically about, I suppose, social media here, but you can do that with blogging as well. So think about what you're actually going to create for the next 4 weeks and then plan it out. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you, if you're interested, to send me an email, and I've created a little resource pack that could be used as a bit of a guide. It's an Excel spreadsheet with numerous tabs and a content schedule. A basic content schedule is one of these things, so you can use that. Use Quora.com or answerthepublic.com for ideas. So if you go into either of these websites and you type in a term, it will answerthepublic.com, for example. If you type in, I don't know, what is tax planning or tax planning, it will pull out every single word associated with every single question that it seems to be popular associated with tax planning. So if you're involved in tax planning or accountancy or in that arena, it'll give you ideas of the kind of content that you can actually write based on what people are actually asking, and that will also pick up the most current things as well, with whatever's going on in the tax world or in the global economy and so on and so on. Be consistent. There's nothing worse than reading a blog that was written 3 years ago. You see this massive splurge of blogs, and then it just disappears and falls off a cliff. I'm a little bit guilty of that as well, but obviously when you get busy, it's a thing that happens. But try your hardest to remain consistent, and that's, again, the kind of thing people are going to check out. If it's something that's very present, it will support you in winning that client over. And I mentioned reviews. Ask for a review at the point your client is happy with the service you've delivered. The number of times I've heard people say, oh, I've asked for a Google review or a LinkedIn recommendation. They say they'll do it, but they never do. It's because we're all busy and we don't have time. We're always more than happy to help people out when they've done a good job. But make sure you're asking your customer at the point that you've delivered the service and they're really happy. Catch them, strike while the iron's hot. Okay, so tactic number 4. Productizing your service to differentiate yourself. So this is something, what is productization? A productized service simplifies and focuses your business's marketing operations into a model that is more predictable, process focused, and easier to sell. I'll give you an example of productization in a second. So the benefits of productization: it helps differentiate you against the competition. So if you've created some kind of productized model and it's different to everybody else, then you're going to stand out. It demonstrates visual expertise. I was introduced to visual expertise by my business coach, a chap called Andrew Hartley. Amazing guy. I've worked with him for years, and he introduced the concept of it, and it was something that's ultimately what led us towards getting involved in this. And it makes your service easier to understand. So Solar 7 is us productizing our service. Like I say, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Anyone who understands marketing or anyone in the marketing sphere will, this isn't news to them. This is catered more for people who don't necessarily, it's not their area of expertise. And it's helped us immensely. It really has in terms of just positioning ourselves and creating a model there. So another way of productizing could be to create packages. So I just stuck with the accountancy practice example throughout a lot of this. So as an accountancy practice, you might do sole trader accounts, limited company accounts, management accounts. All right, so they're all the features of what it is that you actually do. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm sorry if there's any accountants in the webinar, but it's not the most interesting thing in the world to me. My wife's an accountant. I find it boring as hell because marketing's ace and accountancy isn't. But yeah, so something like this. Yes, these are the features of what happens. But if you were to productize it, say for someone who isn't geared towards the technicalities of it, maybe consider turning it in, giving it a name like the business starter package for new start businesses or one-person businesses, business growth for limited companies looking to grow, the business accelerator package for businesses that need regular dedicated support. These are not particularly creative examples that I came up with. They're just examples that probably quite cliche really. But what I'm saying is, rather than just naming it based on what the technical terminology is, try and give it its own packaging. And then maybe even consider creating a package for struggling businesses, again, something that's dedicated to the current circumstance, the thing that's going on right now. Again, if it speaks directly to them in relation to what their pain point is, then you're more likely to get their attention and draw them in. So tips associated with productization: try to be unique with your naming and packages. Don't use the lame example that I just showed you there. That's an example of how not to do it. It takes time to come up with, a good package name. And it took a lot of time for us to come up with Solar 7. Highlight the outcome if you are creating a model. It's the outcome that people buy. It's not the features, it's the benefits. They want to know what the end result is. Just the process is just, by the by really. But obviously you want to highlight elements of that. They want to know what that big outcome at the end is. Give the model a name, make it relate to something we recognize in the real world. The way our model Solar 7 happened was, it was actually, a lot of it was by accident. It happened over a number of years, a lot of frustration of me trying to sketch out and show the way it all works, because there's a lot of moving parts to it. And, to people who, if it's not really their thing, they're not going to fully understand it. I was trying to create a way that was easy to understand. I stumbled across a bit of a format. And when I created it, I showed it to the team on a Monday morning, and a web developer said, it looks like a solar system, and that's how it became Solar 7, and we made it more solar system-ish. And because we've connected it by accident to the real world, it just makes it that much more understandable. And like I said, creating a model, it may not happen overnight. Just keep at it, guys. If it is something that is of interest, we've really felt the benefit of it, and I really am an advocate of it. You can't apply it to all businesses. It is something that's, it is something that is a case-by-case basis. But again, for a lot of service businesses where the thing is not a 100% tangible that you're doing, this is where it applies very well. So, okay. Tactic number 5. How are we doing on time? Okay. Tactic number 5, understanding your competition in the digital landscape. So this is a very practical thing that you can do straight away. So the question is, how often do you assess your competition? Is it once a month, every 6 months, once a year? Never. Please say never. Please don't say never, should I say. So step by step, again, this is a resource that I'm going to give you in the resource pack. List 3 of your competitors. List 3 of your benchmark companies in your sector. So basically companies that offer the same service as you that you don't compete with. So again, sticking with the accountancy practice example, maybe 3 benchmark companies of a similar size in London, and you really like what they're doing. Just list them, have a look at what it is that they're doing. Search all these companies on social media. Have a look at what they're doing on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. Have a close look at all these things that they're doing. And then for each one, jot down, again, I'm going to give you a sample just for one social media platform in this resource pack. Have a look at how many followers each one's got, or likes. Have a look at how many posts they're putting out per day, how many shares they're getting per day, what kind of comments and replies they're getting, and what kind of hashtags they're using. You're just taking a snapshot. Imagine it like a balance sheet of whatever's going on at that exact moment in time of who's doing what. And you'll probably be amazed at the amount of information that you'll actually be able to pull from that, and inspiration you'll be able to draw for the kind of stuff you could be doing. And then off the back of that, create a content schedule based on what you've learned from your competition or benchmarks. Again, I'll give you a basic outline of what a content schedule looks like. It's very simple. You know, the date, the kind of thing you're going to put on, the kind of picture you're going to put on. That's all the content schedule is. It isn't rocket science. So again, this is in the pack if it's something that everybody wants. Create the content schedule, and if you're doing that and you're doing it every 4 weeks or regularly, you're putting information out there regularly, and you're making yourself visible during a very difficult time. So tactic number 6, reviewing and measuring your marketing activity. So stage 6 in the Solar 7 model is review and measure. Really, 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 really important and massively overlooked in a major way. Really frustrating for me, this one is, because there's activity that loads of people do and they're shooting left, right and centre. Chris, I can see you're nodding. Yeah, you obviously feel that as well. It's something that it's massively underrated. It really needs to be done a lot more. Peter Drucker, this man was the bane of my life at university. I've never met him, but I hated him. Why? Because I had to memorize so much stuff. I was in my late teens, 20s. I was young, I was stupid, because now he's an absolute legend. I live by what this guy has said here. You can't manage what you can't measure. And yeah, you know, and it's so true. If you're not measuring it, how do you know what's working? How do you know if it is working, if it isn't working? So make sure you measure, guys. If you're not tracking what's going on and writing it down, you need to start immediately, really quickly. Get it in a spreadsheet, write it down, and just keep an eye on everything that's happening. You might say, oh, I've got an idea in my head, I know what's going on. Get it written down. You might be surprised at some of the patterns that you see. So the kind of things that you want to be tracking, the number of inquiries that you're getting in on a daily, weekly, monthly, whatever basis, however your business model works, get that written down. The number of proposals or quotes that you're getting out in that same time period. The total value of quotes or proposals that are being sent out in that same time period. And the number of sales that you're pulling in, and the value of the sales, and the total value that you're actually pulling in as well. So all of this information, it shows it's kind of a bit of a pipeline before they actually jump on board and become a conversion. Again, you know, from the point that think about the sales funnel, from consideration to engagement to sale. Everything we're talking about is the consideration engagement stage, and these are all the things that are happening between there. So this is what will allow you to calculate your conversion rate. So how to calculate your conversion rate. So take the total amount of business converted, let's say in May, however much business you converted in May, how much you quoted for in total in May, multiply it by 100, and you've got yourself a conversion rate. So let's have a look at it as an example. So let's say May, you sent out 10 quotes and they totaled 25,500. And out of those quotes, you converted 15,000 in the business in that particular month. It doesn't matter if you invoice it that month or not. If you converted it in a business and it lasts for the next 6 months or whatever, count it in that month because you converted it in that month. So the way you calculate that is get your conversion rate, the amount of business converted, so the 15,000, divide it by the total amount that you quoted out for in that month, 25,500, multiply it by 100, and you've got yourself a conversion rate of 58.8%. Is that good? Who knows? It depends on what, in relation to your business, what your business needs in order to survive. That's a much deeper thing and goes into the world of boring accountancy. Not my thing. Speak to an accountant. So yeah, that's the conversion rate. So that's something, again, I would urge you, if you're not calculating that and getting it written down on a monthly basis, weekly basis, whatever time frame it is, start doing that. You also need to track your source of inquiry. It's in big letters with an exclamation mark, because for me, again, this is a massive pain point. To this day, I had a meeting last week. To this day, people are still not tracking their source of inquiry. Get it in if you've got a CRM, if you don't have a CRM, if you have a spreadsheet, every inquiry that comes in, ask them where they heard about you and write it down, and then log it all up on a monthly basis, on a bi-monthly basis, every 6 months, whatever. You might be surprised at what's coming from where, and allocate the actual converted cost against each source, you know, whether it's word of mouth or by being found online or via social media or whatever. That'll allow you to put more resource into the direction of places where it's working. And then also Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a piece of code you can put on your website, and then you can go in and you can see how many people are visiting your website, when they're visiting it, what the most popular page is, how people are leaving. It's amazing. There's so much information in there. I'm not going to go into much more detail on this because it's a webinar in itself, but Google Analytics can tell you so much. It can give so much information and so much insight into what's happening, what should be happening, and what could be happening. So guys, that's 6 tips that I've given you. So now you should have an outline on ways to ensure you retain existing client loyalty, emphasizing your core values, creating value-adding content to gain and retain clients, productizing your service to differentiate yourself, understanding your competition on the digital landscape, and reviewing and measuring your activity. So, as mentioned, I have got one more tip to give you. But before I give you that tip, what I would like you all to do, it's literally 30 seconds. I would like you just to fill in a survey, just to let us know your thoughts on how this has gone today. It's completely anonymous, so be as honest as you can. I really appreciate it. It's what's going to help us improve. So I'll just give, 30 seconds just for you guys to go in there, click the link, and yeah, just fill it in. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, if you could give us a done when you've when in the chat, that'd be great. Yeah, no worries, Paul. I'll put the link back in again. There we go. There's no link. It's to all panelists, right? My apologies. All panelists and attendees. That was my mistake. My apologies, guys. You should be able to see a link now. Sorry.
I didn't notice it either. I just thought you'd sending it to me.
I thought Chris is the only one who cares.
Yeah, just me. Great idea though, Jag. Just to grab them while they're here. With no excuse.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody, you better be nice. Yeah. No, be honest, guys. Be honest, please.
I really found that valuable, Jag, by the way. It was cool. So, yeah, definitely the bit about that's why I was nodding my head around the data side, because people really do not track the data, make sense of it. And that's one of the biggest things they can do to make ROI. Your presentation, not mine.
So, yeah, and with the data, people are sat on this gold mine of information, and just sometimes tweaking it and manipulating it ever so slightly, it can just give such a strong outcome. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Carl, Mike, Paul, Lee, Fliss. Thank you, guys. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Okay, so brilliant. Okay, so I'll carry on. So if you haven't done it yet, yeah, please do. The link will be there. Right. Okay. So the final bonus tactic: CSR, corporate social responsibility. Give to a good cause, a charity or a social enterprise, raise awareness for them, do some pro bono work. Again, you know, obviously it goes without saying, you know, give something to a good cause for a good cause. It's an important thing, but you know, from a PR perspective, it's a great thing. Associate yourself with sort of charity that you actually believe in. And again, when people are in the consideration and engagement stage, if you're doing something good and they see that, you know, the kind of values that you share, if they're the same, if they're the same as what you know, the prospect has, then you know, it's just going to be another little thing that's going to support you in winning business. So a project we've recently worked on was a company called Lost Polos Lockdown. We did this in collaboration with Simon. I know you're here, Simon, brand boy, Simon Glenn. And we worked on it, and these guys do a home roasted Spanish style chicken. It's a client of ours that has a wood fire oven in his garden. And he decided that he wanted to make some, well, home roasted Spanish style chicken and give them to the NHS services on a, you know, once a week and just deliver them. And he was going to scale it up and turn it into a sort of pay as you feel social enterprise, but he got busy with his day job and a few of the challenges in there. But we did this as a pro bono project for him, and it's something that we're very proud of, because off the back of that, it's put a label on this thing that he's doing for the emergency services. And you know, we all know how important the emergency services are right now. They're the heroes that are getting us through this. So yeah, you know, just do something good, do something good, and don't be afraid to tell the world about it. You know, it's something that you're adding to your brand, and you know, you're doing a good thing. So yeah, so guys, the resource pack. The resource pack I'm going to send you, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it's got a social media assessment template on there. It just gives an outline of the kind of fields you want to be filling in. A social media content plan. Again, I mean, there's so many variants of this kind of thing. This is something that's just a basic outline. An inquiries dashboard template. This one you might find useful. It's something that, well, we use it ourselves. This is kind of a basic version of, I've stripped it out and taken a lot of the other fluffy elements that you guys wouldn't want to look at. But, you know, all the information I gave you about, you know, looking at your conversion rates and stuff. And then a conversion tracker spreadsheet, which, you know, we track our average conversion rate over the last rolling 3-month period. So if this is something you want, guys, email me at jag@expandmarketing.co.uk. That's spelled with an X, there's no E at the beginning, and just put the subject header as post-lockdown resources, so I don't miss it. And then if you email it over, I'll reply to you and send it over to you. And hopefully it's a bit of a useful resource for you to use in just, you know, getting yourself through tough times. And that's me, guys. So yeah, you know, it'd be great to connect with you. This is my LinkedIn QR code. You can search me on LinkedIn. If you like what you've heard today, please, you know, leave me a LinkedIn recommendation or a Google review, or both if you're feeling really generous. Yeah, that would be brilliant. So thank you, guys. Any questions?
Yeah, I suppose we've got time. Probably got 3 minutes. So we could probably 1, 2, maybe 3 questions at a push. So whoever's quick, you can drop your questions in the chat, and we'll go from there. Go.
I think everyone's
his fingers first.
Yeah, everyone's asleep. It's Monday afternoon.
Well, not though. They've all filled in the survey.
Yeah, that is true. Thank you, guys.
I really enjoyed that, Jag. Brilliant. So quick question, then we'll kind of formulate their ideas. Are there any, you mentioned about the tracking key metrics? I know you said spreadsheet. Do you recommend any way you can kind of get started, or any tools or tips, or how would you get going with that if you're sat there thinking, well, that's good, but
tracking key metrics. Well, again, I suppose really it is. I mean, there are so many metrics you can track. There are so many things. I mean, this is just the top of the tip of the iceberg, really. Like I say, it just comes down to, you know, hopefully, you know, the spreadsheet is a tool that I provided. It's nothing out of this world that, you know, if people want it. It's just keeping some form of way of keeping all of that together. I actually use our CRM is Pipedrive, which is a little bit like Trello, and it's great because in my pipeline, it allows me to see, you know, when a lead comes in, And then I've created the field for, have I made contact with them? Have I arranged a meeting? Have I defined their needs? Have I sent a proposal? Have I chased it up? And it kind of, it's got a thing where it sets to rot after a period of time. In other words, it goes red if I've not done anything with it in a period of time. So it's really visual and it's in front of me. So that's a piece of software I pay for, but I think there is a free version or a trial version. Something like that is really good. So it's that could be a useful tool.
Thank you. Cool. Cheers for that, Jag. Cool.
Yep.
The signs are rolling now. So one in the Q&A thing. I don't know if you can see that, Jag, which says, anonymous person, can you give an example of how to present these results to managers, stroke directors on a monthly basis, and perhaps in terms of a template?
How to present? Sorry, which results are we talking about?
It doesn't say. I'm guessing it'll be your key performance indicator stuff at the end of the month to MDs and.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have any templates of that kind, but generally, you know, it goes back to visual stuff. A picture paints 1,000 words. Going back to, you know, Solar 7, it makes it so much easier to understand. So get your Excel game on. You know, if you can throw some, put some charts in there, some, you know, pie charts, that kind of thing, and demonstrate. A really good thing to do is demonstrate the kind of the percentage change or the difference in what's happened. So at least that way you're getting a realistic, it's very visual. If people can't be bothered to read a sheet of A4 or whatever, put a visual in front of them. You know, charts and graphs. I'm a very visual person, so I mean, I would definitely respond to something like that, but then obviously not everyone's like me. But I would definitely say make it as visual as possible. You know, for the life of me, I know there are some great examples of software and apps for this kind of thing, but for the life of me, I actually can't think of any right now. Really sorry, Molly. But yeah, just get visual charts is the answer. Damien, you mentioned Lucky Orange. Yeah, a Lucky Orange is something I mentioned in one of my last webinars. That is a piece of software that you can put onto your, some tracking code you can put onto your website. And what it does is it records the way that the cursor interacts. You can actually watch little videos of exactly how everyone is engaging with your website. So that is a really cool, useful piece of kit. You can get it free for a period of time, and then it starts at $10 a month. So if you're concerned about how your website's performing or you want to improve it, you can actually watch how people are engaging with it and what things need to be changed. So yeah. So another question from Simon: how important is the strategy stage of my marketing, and is it something I can do myself? Well, I mean, everything we've talked about today, like I was saying before, these are all tactics. If you put them all together and have a long-term goal against each one, you're forming elements of what makes up a strategy. I mean, you could argue that each one of these needs a strategy in itself, really, because it needs that longer-term goal. What I would recommend, I mean, there are so many elements to strategy. You know, I would recommend, you know, can you do it yourself? You can definitely, you know, it's the kind of thing, as a business owner, I would say you need to know what's going on. You need to be in charge of your own strategy. But yeah, on the same hand, I would recommend, you know, getting a professional to overlook it, or if not, at the very least, you know, make sure you're doing a serious amount of reading. But then the question is, do you have that much time to look into it? That's going to take you away from that thing that you do in your area of expertise. So yeah, I think that was a question from Simon. Thank you for that.
There's some good feedback there from, I think, Joe Mitchell at the end. Really useful to get us started on our marketing. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe.
Right, I think that's pretty much it. We're pretty much bang on an hour. Thank you very much to the delegates. Yeah, thank you, Jag, so much for giving up your time. It was really good to reinforce a lot of stuff from my perspective, but a lot of value in there for a lot of people to put their own marketing there. So well done, thank you. Just a quick plug to all those delegates. We have loads more. I think we've got 15 more seminars running for the rest of the week. I'll just quickly drop the link in there with all the speakers. So please drop onto the other webinars. Lots of other useful information. It's all about adding value this week. There's no sales. It's all about helping. Obviously, if there's something that catches your attention and you really want to work with Jag, you've got his details. Get in touch. From me, thank you very much. Anything for you, Jag, to close?
Thank you guys for coming along. I hope it was useful.
Cool. All right. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.